Hello everyone. Welcome to grammar lesson for Toefl beginner level. My name is Dinh and Lieu. Our lesson for today is about conditional sentences. After this lesson, you will be able to identify structures of the conditional sentences types 1, 2, and 3 in English, and know how to form and use conditional sentences types 1, 2, and 3 correctly. Now let's get started. What are conditional sentences? Conditional sentences present situations as conditions and possible results or consequences of these situations. For example, if it rains, I will stay at home. Let's imagine a situation that you and your friend are about to meet at a cafe, but then you text your friend back. If it rains, I will stay at home. We can see that in this sentence we have two parts. The first part is the condition, if it rains. And the next part, it is the possible result, I will stay at home. Today, we will work on the three types of conditional sentences. They are first conditional, second conditional, and a third conditional. Now, let's take a closer look at the first conditional. Look at this example. Here are the two boys. They are about to late for school. One of the boys says, if we don't hurry, we will be late for school. The first conditional tells us about the present or the future possibility. If we don't hurry, we will be late for school. We have two parts in this sentence. The first one is the if clause. It is the condition. And the main verb in this part is in the present tense. The next one is the main clause. It is the result. And the main verb in this part is in the form of will and infinitive. If we don't hurry, we will be late for school. Let's take another example for this. If you never try, you will never know. If you never try is the condition, and you will never know is the result. So remember, the first conditional tells us about the present or future possibility. In the if clause, the main verb is in the present tense. And in the main clause, the main verb is formed with will and infinitive. Now let's do some exercise for this. The first sentence, if you don't keep silent, you the baby up. The condition, if you don't keep silent, has the main verb in the present tense. So the result will have the main verb in the form with will and infinitive. So the correct verb form here is will wake. If you don't keep silent, you will wake the baby up. The next one, it's raining. He will get wet if he an umbrella. The possible result here is he will get wet. And the condition here has the main verb in the present tense. Because the subject is he, so the correct verb form is doesn't take. It's raining. He will get wet if he doesn't take an umbrella. The last one. What will you do if Susie late? What will you do is the main clause. And the rest is the if clause. So the main verb should be in the present tense. Because the subject here is Susie, so the correct verb form is arrives. What will you do if Susie arrives late? We have just talked about the first conditional. is about the present or future possibility. Now, let's move to the second conditional. The second conditional tells us about the present unreal situation. Look at this example. If I knew the answer, I would tell you. The girl in the red jacket tell her friend, if I knew the answer, I would tell you. This is the present unreal situation. In fact, she doesn't know the answer. There are two parts in this sentence. The first one is the if clause. It is the condition. And the main verb in this part is in the past tense. The next one is the main clause, is the result. And the main verb in this part is formed by would and infinitive. If I knew the answer, I would tell you. Let's take another example for this. If I were you, I would study hard. In fact, I am not you. This is the present unreal situation. The if clause, if I were you, has the main verb in the past tense. And the main clause, I would study hard, has the main verb in the form of would and infinitive. We have a note for second conditional that use were for all subjects. So remember, the second conditional tells us about the present unreal situations. In the if clause, the main verb is in the past tense. And in the main clause, the main verb is formed by would and infinitive. And remember to use were for all subjects. Now let's do some exercise for this. In the first sentence, if I, her phone number, I would call her. The main clause is I would call her. And the if clause has the main verb in the past tense. So the correct form here is had. If I had her phone number, I would call her. The second sentence, if I, you, I would accept their invitation. The result here is I would accept their invitation. So in the if clause, the main verb should be in the past tense. The word be here should be were. If I were you, I would accept the invitation. The last one, if they invited me to their wedding party, in the sentence, if they invited me to their wedding party is the condition. It is the if clause. So the main clause will have the main verb in the form with would and infinitive. So the correct answer here is wouldn't refuse. If they invited me to their wedding party, I wouldn't refuse. We have just talked about the first conditional and the second conditional. Remember, the first conditional tells us about the present or future possibility, and the second conditional tells us about the present unreal situations. Now, let's move to the last conditional sentence, the third conditional. The third conditional tells us about the past unreal situations. Look at this example. When you receive the result of the test, you have an F. At that time, you will say, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. There are two parts in this sentence. The first one is if clause, it is the condition. And the main verb in this part is in the past perfect tense. The next part is the main clause. It is the result. And the main verb is formed by would, have, and past participle. If I had studied hard, I would have passed the exam. Let's take another example for this. Yesterday, your friend had a birthday party, but you were sick. So the conditional for this situation is, if I hadn't been sick, I would have come to your birthday party. If I hadn't been sick, I would have come to your birthday party. This is the past unreal situation. In the past, it didn't happen. So remember, the third conditional tells us about the past unreal situations. The main verb in the if clause is in the past perfect tense, and the main verb in the main clause is formed with would, have, and past participle. Now let's do some exercise for the third conditional. Number 1, you would have got a seat if you 10 minutes earlier. In the if clause, the main verb should be in the past perfect tense. So, the correct verb form for this sentence is had arrived. You would have got a seat if you had arrived 10 minutes earlier. The next sentence, if she, as I told her, she would have succeeded. In the if clause, the main verb should be in the past perfect tense. So the correct verb form here is had done. If she had done as I told her, she would have succeeded. The last one, if I had seen him, I, this present. The if clause is if I had seen him, and the rest is the main clause. In the main clause, the main verb is in the would, have, and past participle form. So the correct verb form here is would have given. If I had seen him, I would have given this present. We have just talked about the first conditional, the second conditional, and the third conditional. Remember, the first conditional tells us about the present or future possibility. And the second conditional tells us about the present unreal situations. And the third conditional tells us about the past unreal situations. We have some notes for the conditional sentences. First one, we should use a comma after the if clause. When we say, if we don't do our homework, the teacher will be very angry, we need to use a comma after the if clause to separate the if clause and the main clause. However, if the main clause goes first in the sentence, we can say, the teacher will be very angry if we don't do our homework. We don't need to use a comma after the if clause. The next one is the way we use modals. So we have first conditional, second conditional, and the third conditional. The way we use modal for these conditional sentences are different. For the first conditional, we can use will, should, can, or may. For example, if you come earlier, we can discuss about the problem. In the second conditional, we can use would, could, or might. For example, if I had money, I could help you. For the third conditional, we can use would have, could have, or might have. For example, we can say, if you hadn't reminded me, I might have forgotten. Alright, now let's practice what we have learned. Complete each sentence with a conditional sentence using the given situation. The first one, I am sorry for bothering you. I didn't know you were busy. In this situation, I didn't know you were busy is in the past tense, so the conditional sentence should be in the third conditional sentence. If I had known you were busy, I wouldn't have bothered you. This is the past unreal situation. The second sentence, I don't know Jason's number. I can't tell him what happened. In this situation, I don't know Jason's number is in the present tense. So, the conditional here should be in the second conditional. If I knew Jason's number, I could tell him what happened. It is the present unreal situation. The next one, Jenny didn't answer the phone because she was studying. The situation here is she was studying. So the conditional here should be in the third conditional. If Jenny hadn't been studying, she would have answered the phone. This is the past unreal situation. The next one, I am not tall enough to reach the shelf. In this situation, I am not tall enough is in the present tense. So the conditional sentence here should be the second conditional. If I were tall enough, I would be able to reach the shelf. It is the present unreal situation. The last one, I don't have extra pens. I won't give you one. The situation here is I don't have extra pens. So the conditional here should be in the second conditional. If I had extra pens, I would give you one. It is the present unreal situation. In conclusion, today we have learned about the first conditional, second conditional, and the third conditional. For the first conditional, it's about the present or future possibility. The second conditional is about the present unreal situations. And the third conditional is about the past unreal situations. The first conditional, we have if clause is the condition and the main clause is the result. In the if clause, the main verb should be in the present tense. And in the main clause, the main verb is in the will and infinitive form. For the second conditional, in the if clause, the main verb is in the past tense. And in the main clause, the main verb is in the would and infinitive form. For the third conditional, the main verb is in the past perfect tense. And in the main clause, the main verb is in the would, have, and past participle form. That is all for our lesson today. Thank you for watching.